Welcome to day 341 of our DeSo journey. My name's Ed Krasenstein, and I'm here with my twin brother, Brian. And remember, these videos are sponsored by NFT Tech. They are an investor in CloutFeed. Yesterday was an interesting day, not too busy, but there's some things to talk about. DeSo made a big post yesterday about how they plan to support Ukraine and the Ukrainian community. Basically, they highlighted a few projects that are taking place on DeSo. NFT Place is one of them. NFT Place has created an NFT, and that NFT will all the royalties, all the earnings from the sale of that NFT will go to Ukrainian DeSo members, and those members are Transhumanist, Zapel, Cat Tyson, Steppard 93, Anastasia Horoshenko, Gene GMB, J Rebitz, Oza Doraz Nyack, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, Natalie Art, Bath Q, Brutal, Fantastic Woman, Shade Flowers, Malving, Jewel 1 KO, Memes Machine. So those,
and it's Malvina. It's not Malvin. It's Malvina.
Malvina. Did I say something else? I'm sorry. So at the time of DeSo's post, there are still 27 of these left, not unsold. But after that, they've all sold out. So all 100 of the NFT Place NFTs have sold out, and all that money will go to those 16 community members, which I think is awesome. Great job, NFT Place, and thank you for DeSo. Thank you to DeSo for highlighting them. Also, CloutPunk, they highlighted CloutPunk's NFT. We talked about it briefly yesterday. CloutPunk minted 1,000 of a special Ukraine CloutPunk, and all that money is also going to Ukraine. But what they're doing is they're taking all that money and sending it to the designated Ukraine Bitcoin address, which goes to their war efforts. The DeSo Foundation also said they're going to be contributing an extra $550 to buy these NFTs, basically doubling the total of the sales so far at that point. So far, 33 have sold. There's still 977 left. So if you haven't gotten this special CloutPunk Ukraine edition charity version of an NFT, definitely check it out. It's going to a great cause. And also, they highlighted DeSocial World and GD virtual galleries. And we talked about this yesterday as well. They've created two special galleries. One of the galleries will take Ukrainian DeSo members, and any NFTs they've minted will be in those galleries. Not any NFTs, but a selected amount of NFTs will be in one of those galleries. And the other gallery will be for anyone who wants to donate NFTs to this cause to raise money for Ukraine. Those NFTs will be in the second gallery by DeSocial World and GDS. And all the proceeds for the sale of all these will go to Ukrainian community members. So I think that's awesome. DeSo also said they're exploring ways they can amplify Ukrainian voices, builders, and creators at the foundation level. So I think they're really trying hard here.
Yeah, and they promised that they were going to do something early this week, and they've met that promise. I'm glad they're doing something like this. I think that the DeSo community is filled with such great people willing to help. So good job to the core team. And I'd like to see them amplify Ukrainian creators in other ways. Maybe like other nodes could as well, like Diamond App could maybe have a feed from the Ukrainian users. I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to kind of amplify what they're doing. I
was gonna say, I think DeSocial World's considering doing something with the Ukrainian language section on their page, but I don't think they have anything created quite yet.
Yeah, and I've noticed that a lot of the Ukrainian users are getting a lot of engagement, diamonds, NFT sales. So that's great. We're doing what we can to help. We've purchased several NFTs, and we'll continue to do so if we stumble across some more, because I think it's a great cause, and it just shows that humanity is, like I've been saying from the start, humanity in general is good. And there might be some bad apples out there, but overall, the average human being is much better than they are bad.
And I think we all have more in common than most of us think, But yeah. Anyhow, let's move on to Cloudcast and what they're doing.
So Cloudcast found a Google ad on about DeSo. So it's not exactly what Cloudcast is doing, but what Cloudcast found, and a lot of this was shared on DeSo yesterday. But basically, they stumbled upon an ad for DeSo on Google during the search process when you're searching for certain keywords, and the ad basically read, "Go from Web 2 to Web 3. Build on the social blockchain, the world's first layer 1 blockchain custom built to scale decentralized social applications. Use your current tech stack to build on DeSo instead of learning Rust." And it had some more text. It had menus under it for under the ad for number 1, running a node, number 2, go deep, number 3, buy DeSo, and number 4, run a node. So I think I think that we're starting to see DeSo advertise on traditional platforms. I know we heard this last week that they were going to be doing this, and they are doing it. But this is the first ad that we've actually seen, thanks to Cloudcast for showing it. It looks like it's mainly targeting developers right now, which kind of goes along with what they've been doing. They're trying to build up the ecosystem before, I think, spending heavily on user acquisition, which makes sense, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't really know if they're only targeting developers, because we only saw one ad, and even that ad, it says buy DeSo, so that could be for anyone as well. They're not specifically advertising any nodes yet, it doesn't appear, but it does appear like they're advertising the ecosystem. And I'm sure there's so much. Go ahead.
And I think there's an argument, should they bring users on before they bring developers on, or developers before users? I think it should be a little bit of both. It's hard to attract developers if there's only 1,000 or 2,000 daily active users, because who's going to spend the time developing if there is not a lot of activity? But at the same time, what we saw back in March, we saw a flood of users come on, and there was no ecosystem. It was just one site. And most of those people fizzled out, left, lost interest. Likely they'll come back, but I think it just shows you need to kind of combine the two. So try to bring people on. We already have somewhat of an ecosystem already. We've got over a dozen nodes, tons of projects, dozens of projects. But at the same time, trying to attract new developers too, because we're still looking for that killer app, I think.
Yeah, and with these ads, I think there's a lot of trial and error. You got to see what works, what ads are performing better than some of the ones that aren't performing very well. And you got to kind of you got to basically start with a bunch of different ads targeting a bunch of different things, a bunch of different keywords, and then you narrow down which ones are bringing on the most people, which ones are, getting the most people to buy DeSo, which ones are bringing the most developers in. And then you really focus and throw a lot of more marketing dollars towards those specific ads. I think that's the way to ultimately go. But yeah, I think they're doing a great job. Nader, he was interviewed on Nasdaq Trade Talks yesterday, which I had a chance to listen to. Did you get to listen to it, Brian?
Yep, I watched the whole thing. He did an amazing job, I think, at explaining the ecosystem, explaining the various nodes and projects that are being built on the blockchain. Thanks for the shout out to NFTZ. He also mentioned several other nodes like Story and Polygram, and he mentioned a lot of them. But I think he did a good job at explaining to the average person what DeSo is and why DeSo and Web3 have such a bright future as we move forward. And he spoke a lot about DAOs as well.
Yeah, he mentioned Pearl, and he also mentioned Supernovas and Diamond App, along with NFTZ as well, and Polygram. So I think it was awesome. It was a bit of a nice ad for DeSo, but as well as for some of the nodes. ASG yesterday created a really long post highlighting some of the more noteworthy, I guess, events and things that took place on DeSo over the past year. I guess I should say DeSo/BitCloud over the last year. I'll just run through a few of them, because some of these, I just have such vivid memories of these. Farouk Arts, Jake Udell, Craig, and D Harmon started a boy band, and their hot single produced by Benny Blanco got held up mid-production. I remember that vividly. Do you remember that, Brian?
I do. It was funny.
Yeah, that was the what was the boy band called? I forget. Big
Uh,
Cloud Kids.
um,
Big Cloud Kids, right?
no,
Oh, Big Cloud,
no. uh, Big Cloud Boys, was
Big
it?
Cloud Boys, I think it was. Yeah, those are some good times. Connor Mitchell, remember him getting the the Big Cloud Pulse tattoo on his butt?
Yeah, there's a photo of us and his butt somewhere.
Yeah, from the Miami meetup. That was pretty epic. Connor hasn't been on Big Cloud for over, I think, 50 days or so now. We miss you, Connor. And some people
Yeah,
might
maybe
miss
he'll
your
be
butt
back.
too. So a teenager named Sigil, the OGs will definitely remember Sigil, built a clout exchange and received an investment from Dharmesh after he offered $100,000 via BitClout post. So yeah, Sigil was awesome. I think he was 16 or something at the time, and he created what was it called? BitSwap, right?
BitSwap.
BitSwap, and it was like the only exchange out there at the time if you wanted to buy and sell BitClout, which is what DeSo was called back then. And yeah, he got some huge investments. I know Natter bought some, or who am I invested heavily. Dharmesh invested. He got a lot of investment, and it did eventually shut down. I think the culmination of Coinbase coming and the other exchanges coming. I think there were some bugs with the script. There are some issues there, but it ended up getting shut down. But it was
KYC. I think there's a lot of legal issues that you run into when you start running exchanges, and even though he was in Canada, I think there were some problems he ran into legally that may have caused him to step back a little bit. I think that when you're building something within the money exchange space, you got to be really careful, and you might not realize it, but there's so many regulations that one has to kind of weave through, and legal bills can add up significantly. So we don't know exactly what happened. There was some bugs. There was it appears, I don't know if it was a hack or they lost some of the wallets that they were feeding Ethereum into. It was a little bit of a mess, and I think they lost some money and they were forced to shut down.
Yeah, and another one was Logan Paul claims his account in a clubhouse room with Jake Udell right before his fight with Floyd Mayweather. I remember that vividly. I was in that room. I remember listening to Jake talk to Logan. Logan was like really stoked about DeSo, or it was Big Cloud at the time. He hasn't been active on the platform. I think he intended to be, but he hasn't really been yet. Maybe this Pokey DAO, maybe that'll get him involved. I think it's Logan who's really into Pokemon, either Logan or Jake. But it would be great to have Logan come back onto the platform again. Do you remember that
Yeah,
clubhouse room?
I do. I vaguely remember it. I was just going to say, I think that it was too early. So
Yeah.
we tried bringing on all these celebrities, and when I say we, I mean like just DeSo in general. We tried bringing on all these celebrities so early, and they get on and they earn maybe a few $100, and then things would fizzle out for them because there wasn't that user base. And even though DeSo for the average user can be super lucrative, especially compared to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. These people have millions of followers on Instagram and Facebook, and they can monetize this a lot easier, even though Instagram might be taking a huge 80% cut or whatever it might be. 80% of a pool of 5 million followers is a lot more than 100% of a pool of 3,000 followers on DeSo. So
Yeah.
I think that was one of the issues. I think as the community grows and as the ecosystem grows and as new users come on board, it's going to be easier to onboard celebrities. But I think for now, I think a lot of celebrities just weren't really interested quite yet, at least long term.
Yeah. I was just smiling because I was reading ahead to another one of these events that took place that ASG posted. And I honestly do not remember this one. May Beam accidentally makes everyone an admin. Chaos ensues. People
I
blacklist
remember.
their friends and enemies. Someone pins a post that says poop to global. Do you remember that? I don't.
I don't remember the poop post, but I remember that Maybeam did something and a lot of people had admin access and they started taking advantage of it. Um, and nobody knew what was going on. Everybody was like panicking. So
I don't
I do
remember
remember
this. I wish I remember this. I
that.
don't. Uh, okay, so I don't see this. Oh, here's this. This is the one I remember. I was hoping it was going to be on this list. Raj Lahoti and Mario Nawfal, they have a major beef. ASG posts that he doesn't even remember why, but the clubhouse rooms were absolutely lit. Um, went back to Raj Lahoti's rug pools. We refer to him as Rug Lahoti sometimes, but Raj is an awesome guy. So is Mario. But Raj did some rug pulls. Mario had invested in him. Money was pulled out. Do you remember all the details?
Yes. So Raj pulled out some of the funds, and then Mario needed. I think he wanted funds back from Raj, and I don't know the exact details.
I
So I
think
don't want to.
Mario wanted to take funds out because he didn't like the games that the rug pool games Raj was pulling. But in order to do that, it would have made Raj Lahoti's coin drop and basically screw everybody over. So they were both pointing fingers at each other because so many people were going to lose money in what was taking place. Uh, I mean, looking back, it was kind of funny. I'm sure Mario and Raj would probably laugh about it right now, but it was pretty intense in the clubhouse rooms. They both had their own arguments, and the community was kind of put in the middle of it. But in the end, it actually worked out, and they kind of like made up and like became friends, and it
Yeah,
was all good.
and Raj is great. He hasn't been too active lately. Mario, of course, I have great respect for him because he is so busy with so many other things, but he still comes here every couple of days, posts, engages with people, gives diamond showers. And I'm not saying that because his company NFT Tech sponsors this video. I'm just saying that because I think that he could have kind of forgotten about us and moved on to these other projects he's working on, but he hasn't done that, and he continues to engage and be a presence here. And I think Raj is going to be coming back to. I think a lot of people that might have left will eventually come back as long as DeSo kind of meets their promises. I think DAOs are going to have a big impact. So I hope we see more Raj and Mario talking back and forth.
So here's one. Dylan Jagger Lee literally sells his Range Rover for DeSo. And I do slightly remember this. And I think that's awesome. But what's not on this list, I don't think it's on this list. I haven't yet. Not on this list is his mother, Pamela Anderson, actually was in a clubhouse room talking about DeSo. And Michael Joseph, another OG of DeSo, was interviewing her. And that was like such a hit. Like that room had so many people in it. So many people signed up to DeSo because of that clubhouse room. And it was great. Like Pamela Anderson talked about how she hated social media. She got off of social media. She's no longer on Twitter, on any social media, but except for DeSo, or at the time it was BitClout. And it was a great clubhouse room. She talked a lot about, her philanthropy work that she's been doing. She talked a little bit about WikiLeaks and her friendship with Julian Assange. It was just a really good clubhouse room, and I think was great for DeSo at the time as well. Do you
Yeah,
remember being there? Yeah.
Michael Joseph did an amazing job interviewing her too. Like Michael was he had such a positive attitude. I wish he was here more often. He does pop in. I hope we see him in LA when we go in a couple of weeks. But he did an amazing job interviewing her. I remember that well.
Yeah, he lives out there. Somebody should contact him and let him know that the event's taking place. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. I'm not going to go through all these, but there are some other good ones I want to touch on. Nacho Average sets the world record for the longest continuous Zoom call. I do not remember that. I didn't know that this was a world record that was actually kept
I
in your books
totally
somewhere.
remember that.
Do you?
Yeah, that was like a huge thing on DeSo. How can you
Really?
not know that?
I'm
Ed,
sorry.
we're gonna throw Ed out of the BitCloud OG group.
So here's another one, and I shouldn't be laughing about this, but Chet B. Long gets into a car accident live on Nacho Average, and I'm laughing because Chet ended up being perfectly fine. But like, I remember like people were panicking because like Chet was like talking on his phone as he was driving, and then all of a sudden you hear like.
Okay,
Like,
this is the better part of the story. He went on to onboard the girl that he hit.
no,
To
it was a
be
police officer.
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah, the
police
police
officers,
officer. That's
the
right.
female police officer. So it was, I mean, it's terrible I'm laughing right now, but it was such a great, like, I don't know, it was just like how the community, like all like got really silent all of a sudden and like was super worried about Chet. Like we knew he was in an accident. We didn't know how he was doing. Like, was he injured? And he did end up getting a little hurt. Like it wasn't anything serious, but he was hurt a little bit. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Chet. I shouldn't have been laughing. But I know Matreshka was like, I remember her on the Zoom call, like panicking, hoping he was okay. And it was just like that whole not so average community was so awesome. And it still is. It's different people. Like, I mean, a lot of the originals are still there, but it's kind of like evolved, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And I think we met Chet actually like a week before that in Miami, and we saw how great of a guy he was. So it was, I think everybody like was like shocked because so many people met him in Miami and saw how awesome he was. He was like the cheerleader almost of BitClout that during that Miami event.
Yeah. So let's move on. ASG, thank you so much for that post. It was amazing. It brought back so many memories. I'm sure people watching this show are getting all those, remembering those memories as well, at least those who were around back then. For those who are new, it was some good times. Moving on, top hashtags of today, Brian.
Yeah, so they're similar to the last few days, but there's one new one. The order is Ukraine, DeSo, wordplay, NFT, and then Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's a new one. Obviously, Bitcoin was up, I think, almost like 20% in the last couple of days. So that's probably why Bitcoin's being talked about a lot. Of course, Ukraine's up there again because there's a lot going on within the DeSo community to try and help Ukraine. Also, I want to move on to the Open Prosper top earners of the last 24 hours. In total, $5,243 was earned on DeSo. This is a lot more than usual, at least usual. When I say usual, I mean the last like few weeks. But that's primarily because of the Ukraine fundraisers and stuff, and I'll get into that in a second. 964 creators earned DeSo in total. This is actually kind of lagging behind some of the other numbers we've seen in the past week or two. 25 creators earned at least one DeSo, which is a really good number. Top earner, Cloutpunk, $1,211. And I'm guessing like all of that is likely the Ukraine Cloutpunk that they produced 1,000 of and sold for a DeSo each. It looks like they've sold probably about, I don't even know how many. I don't want to do the math in my head and screw it up. But Seals is number 2. Cock Collectibles. So they also issued a Ukrainian-based NFT that they're donating the proceeds to Ukraine for. I don't know if they're donating to Ukraine or donating to Ukrainian members, but they are number 3, followed by East Bank, Dow, of course, 100, Fantastic Woman, who's from Ukraine, Natalie Art, who is from Ukraine, Brutal, who is from Ukraine, and BAFQ. And I'm not sure if he's from Ukraine, but might be.
Yeah, good job, guys. It's nice when you see some money coming into your DeSo account. Moving on to the community event today, I guess the only community event that's on the calendar is 11 a.m. Eastern time today. It's Crypto Ladies on the Mic with DeSo Chats, Michelle Lord, and Miss Katie Ann. Definitely check that out. I love this room. The first hour, only women are on the stage talking about decentralized social and other crypto related topics. You get to listen to the females of DeSo Talk, the women of DeSo Talk. And then in the next hour, the men come up on stage and add to the conversation. It's a great room. Definitely check it out. And I think that's all we have for you today. And we will talk to you everyone tomorrow.